Welcome back, everybody, to day 10 of learning SQL. We've been at this for 10 days in a row, learning a ton in the process. So let's keep the grind going. Today, we're going to learn about foreign key constraints and how we can use them when creating a table to reference the primary key of another table. So the best way to understand this is by doing an example. So let's jump straight into it. I'm going to go ahead and select everything from my members table here. You see, this is just a little table that I created. We have two members, Molly Edwards and Jeff Smith, and we want to create, or we've been given the task to create a table for payments from these members. And in that table, we need to have a payment ID that is the primary key of the table. We need to have who made the payment, how much they paid, and the date that the payment was made. So let's go ahead and see how we can create that table using a foreign key constraint that references our members table. And then we'll go ahead and test it out. So let's create a table here. Create table, we're going to call it payments. And then we need to go ahead and specify the columns that are going to be in this table. So the first thing is going to be the payment ID. This is going to be of the serial data type. It's going to be our primary key. Then we're going to go ahead and have who made the payment. So we're going to call this mem ID. Now keep in mind, there's no need for us to store the first name and last name of whoever is making the payment because that already exists in our members table. So instead, let's just input the member ID of that member in the members table in this column, and then we can do joins later on to actually match that information if we want to actually see the name of the person who made the payment. So to do that, we can do a foreign key constraint, and this will ensure that when we're inputting payments into this payment table, that the member ID actually exists in our members table elsewhere when we're inputting data into the payments table. So we'll say mem ID, and then we'll go ahead and specify that it's going to be an integer data type. And that's because here in the primary key of the members table, we have an integer data type for the primary key. Then we're going to say references, and then we have to specify the table name and the column. So it's going to be the members table, and it's the mem ID column. Then next up, we need to do the amount. So we're going to say amount. This is going to be the numeric data type. And then we need to specify, we can do up to 10 digits to the left of the decimal and 2 to the right of the decimal. And then we have to do the date, which is going to be the timestamp data type. So we'll go ahead and run this. As you can see, our table was created successfully. So let's go ahead and select everything from the payments table just to take a look at it. You can see that we have payment ID, mem ID, amount, and date. And our mem ID, it won't actually say that this is a foreign key constraint unless we go into here. See if we go in on the left-hand side and we actually look at our tables, which we have members right here. And let me just go ahead, refresh this so we can see our payments table. And then if we actually go down here to constraints, we can see that we have the payments mem ID foreign key constraint right here, as well as our primary key right here. So that's one way we can view that there is a foreign key constraint in this table. So let's go ahead and insert in both a payment into the table that is correct, that actually references a real member, and then we'll put in another payment that does not reference a real member to test that foreign key constraint. So we're going to say insert into the payments table, and then we need to specify the columns. Got to remember the payment ID is of the serial data type, so it's automatically going to put in the correct value for that for us. So we just need to provide the mem ID. We need to provide the payment amount, which I think we called amount. Yep, and then we need to provide the date. Then we'll say values here, and then let's go ahead and put the values that we want to enter. So for mem ID, we're going to put 1, which is an integer. We're going to put the amount, which we're going to say is $5.99, and then we're going to put the date, which I'm just going to say current timestamp. That'll give us the current timestamp that we go ahead and submit this. So let's run it. As you can see, it was successful. I'm going to copy this because we're going to use this again. And then let's go ahead and select everything from our payments table. Take a look. And as you can see, we have the payment ID of 1. We're referencing that mem ID from the members table, which was from Molly. Her mem ID is 1, so we're referencing that. We have the amount and the date. Now let's go ahead and try to use or to insert data for a member that does not exist in our table. So first off, let me select everything from the members table. And you can see that we only have 2 members. We have Molly and Jeff. And so If I go ahead and decide to insert in a payment into the payment table, but I reference a member ID that doesn't exist, like let's say 200, for example, and I try to run this, as you can see, we get an error message and it tells us that the mem ID of 200 is not present in the table members. So perfect. That means that our foreign key constraint is working. It's referencing the primary key in the other table, and it's telling us, hey, this integer that you entered in does not exist in this table, so it cannot correctly reference that information. So another good thing to know, another tool in the toolbox. Thank you for watching. Catch us tomorrow for day 11, where we'll continue the grind.